Hello and welcome to Called Bank Sports. The Utah Jazz had an absolutely outstanding night as they beat the Grizzlies in Memphis to go up 3-1 and to come back to Utah this Wednesday to have a chance to to advance to the second round for the first time in a couple of years. So let's delve into what the Jazz did right, what some of those positive things are, and what they need to do to improve to not just beat the Grizzlies, which I'm pretty confident they will do, but also be able to have success in the next couple rounds of the playoffs. So, biggest concern, biggest highlight for me tonight was Rudy Gobert's third quarter. I believe he ended up with 13 points in the third quarter after scoring 1 point in the first half. So, absolutely outstanding game from him. Overall in the game, he ended up with 17 points on 5 of 9 shooting and 7 of 9 from the free throw line. So 7 of 9 from the line for him is awesome. Just a really solid game. And as he continues to improve his free throw shooting, that will definitely set the Jazz up for success down the line. It was absolutely astounding to see the adjustments the Jazz made at the half to be able to bring him in and make the Grizzlies pay for not guarding him to the level that they should have. And that really allowed the Jazz to keep the three-point line as open as it was, where they had an absolutely outstanding night shooting, just to be sure, 17 of 34. And the three-point line, as well as the free throw line, is really where this game was won for Utah. The Jazz only made 39 shots on 39 of 85 shots compared to 43 of 92 for the Grizzlies. And that meant the Grizzlies shot about 1% better from the field than Utah. But the fact that the Jazz had 7 more three-pointers made on 1 less attempt and were able to have from the line 8 more attempts and 8 more makes allowed the Jazz to win with the final score of 120 to 113. Now, the Grizzlies have not quit at all this whole series. That's why they were able to win game 1. That's why game 2 was so close. And that's why, they almost came back and won game 3. And again, they almost came back tonight. But Utah has been able to stay firm, and with the help of Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley playing especially clutch down in the late minutes of the game, is the reason why they've won these last 2 games. I saw a tweet, and I don't remember who it was, but they said that any other team who is playing Memphis right now would not be up 3-1 in the league. And I really believe that. Now, there might be a team like maybe the Nets or maybe the Lakers. But again, the Lakers have had a rough go around this series, this opening round series against the Suns. So, frankly, there's that voice in the back of my mind as a Jazz fan saying, well, if you're not being able to dominate the 8th seed. But frankly, can you look at this series and tell me when the Grizzlies have given up? They have kept fighting and putting their heart and soul into it. This is a special team. And frankly, they've really given the Jazz a run for their money, even though it looks like the Jazz will be able to close it out in 5, which I say fingers crossed, since I thought the Jazz might be able to do that against the Nuggets last year. And we all know what happened there. So 3-1 series lead does not mean you're going to win. So I don't expect for there to be deja vu from last year, but that definitely is a possibility. So Jazz have to come in Sunday, this upcoming Wednesday at Vivint, let the fans propel them to a victory and be able to get a few days off before they play the winner of the Clippers and Mavericks. So, and again, just to get back into the players with outstanding games. So I went over Gobert. The next player who I really want to talk about is Donovan Mitchell, who frankly has been lights out. He's been averaging around 28 points, I think, since coming back off of his injury. So I did not expect to see Donovan come back this quickly. His 3-point shooting tonight was rough. He was 2 for 7, and frankly, his shooting from the field was not that good either. He was 6 of 15 from inside the arc for 8 of 22 overall, but he is getting to the line, and he was 12 of 13 from the line. So Donovan is coming out and doing all he can to get his, whether that involves him forcing himself to the free throw line, or it involves him just doing all he can to get a good open look. So I expect to see Donovan improve even more. And hopefully in the second round series, he comes back out and we're not going to see the bit of rust that still is there, even though it is not that visible. And then the other player who had an amazing night that I really want to highlight on, and the stat line is semi-deceiving. Mike Conley put up 11 points, 7 assists, and 3 rebounds. But what was super special about his game overall is just how dominant he was at the end of the game. His lockdown defense, and specifically him stealing the ball from Murray, going down and hitting a 3-point look. That is something that the Jazz have not had in the past, is they haven't had the first 3 times the Jazz made it to the playoffs. They really haven't had a veteran like Conley. And while this was his first year of being an all-star, he has been an all-star caliber point guard for the past decade. So bringing someone like him onto the team has allowed for the Jazz to have somebody else to go down the stretch. Same as Bogdanovich, who is 3 for 5 from 3 and 5 of 10 from the field. So only 13 points. But again, having those other scoring options have created a team atmosphere that has really allowed the Jazz to be successful throughout this season and so far throughout this playoffs. And last but not least, shout out to Jordan Clarkson. He led the team in scoring behind Mitchell with 24 points, 4 for 9 from 3 after really struggling from behind the arc this whole series, and 4 for 4 from the line. He did that all in 22 minutes, so was able to go out and provide a lot for the team with seeing the court, being on the court for a very limited amount of time. And frankly, I mean, that's really what I just saw from the Jazz tonight is they played as a team. There were moments where they let the ball get stagnant, and that's what allowed Memphis to get back into it. But a lot of that does have to do with how well Memphis is playing defense. So, yeah, I don't expect to see the Jazz lose this Wednesday. It's possible, but if so, I believe they'll close out the series in Memphis. And this is going to be a special year for Utah. We're going to see if they get to play Dallas or the Clippers, and we can Dallas or the Los Angeles Clippers, but we can get into that, in the chat here, and let me know in the comments what you think. But this is the Jazz are more likely than not going to make it to the second round. And again, don't want to speak too soon because of last season, but thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to watch the chat and me answer some questions, you can head over to our YouTube channel. And if you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe, that would be awesome. So thank you so much for watching. Okay, so I'm going to get here into the chat in a second. If you guys can leave a like on the video and get this chat rolling, we will go as long as, well, that might not actually be true since it's a late night and I've done a lot of travel today to get back in time for this, but the Jazz did absolutely great today, and I'm really excited for the chat. Carter says, Carter asks, do I think the Jazz will close this one out in 5? Yes, I do think they will. I didn't think they would just because I thought that Memphis was going to be able to pull out a win in Memphis. But the Jazz, they let the Grizz get back into it games 3 and 4, but they were able to close it out. They were able to be the better team and continue to play with the offensive firepower that we know. We've seen Mitchell be really clutch along with some other players. So I really think they're going to make it in 5. Carter also says, in the second round, I'd say the Jazz in 6. So it really depends on who they're playing. I'm trying to remember who I picked. I could definitely see it going 7. Dallas and the Los Angeles Clippers are both really, really good teams. And I mean, the series is tied 2-2. Obviously, Dallas has dropped the last couple after going up 2-0. I don't know who I expect to see come out of that. I picked the Clippers in 6. Obviously, that's still possible, but I expect to see this go 7. And personally, I would prefer to play the Mavericks. Obviously, if they beat the Clippers, that means they're going to be playing very well. But being able to stop Luka is what you need to do to beat the Mavs, which the Clippers haven't been able to do, and would be hard for the Jazz as well. But the fact that you have to try to stop Paul George, who has struggled in the playoffs in recent history, but can go off any given night, and Kawhi Leonard, who can also go off any given night, is why overall I just would prefer to try to stop Luka. There's a lot less pieces around him that will allow Dallas to have a successful offseason. So that's my hope. is that Mavs pull it out in 7, and then I think the Jazz can win in 6 against the Mavs. Clippers, that might go to 7. And Clippers, frankly, it's going to be hard for the Jazz to win the series. And same beating Luka, but I would be much more confident in the Jazz beating the Mavericks in the series than in the Jazz beating the Clippers. Carter, where was I on Saturday? So my family was up on a trip in Washington, in the Seattle area, visiting Olympic National Park. So that was an absolute blast. I recorded last Saturday's episode from there. So that's why I had a bit of a different background last week. Chiver says, hey, what's up? Nothing much. It's been a long day, but I'm glad to cap it off with a Jazz win. Carter says, how many people submitted a bracket? I believe 8 did. So we had a bracket competition, and that's something I think Dale and I are going to continue doing down the line. So if you want to do that in future years, please subscribe, and we're definitely going to hopefully do some more things like that. But that's something we were doing for this playoffs that we were super excited for, and we're excited for how many entries we got as well. So overall, big win for the Jazz. Definitely. With it being Memorial Day, I guess most people didn't watch the game, or they ended up getting to bed early, which I can't blame them. But thankfully, the Jazz were able to pick up a win here. And like I said, 3-1 doesn't mean the series is over. I do think the Jazz will win it in 5, but last year I picked the Jazz to win it, and I thought the Jazz would win it in, at least 6 after they went up 3-1 on the Nuggets, and that didn't happen. So Jazz have to keep their mind focused. One thing that the Jazz have really gained from playing the Memphis Grizzlies this series is throughout the season, the Jazz really haven't had a lot of opportunities to play in the clutch, to play close games that kind of go down to the wire, where they have to make sure that they're scoring and make sure that they're getting stops, because if you don't, you're going to lose the game. And all 4 of these games have had clutch moments, I believe. The Jazz weren't able to come back in game 1, but they have been able to hold on and win these last 3 games. So the Memphis has really helped prepare Donovan and prepare the Jazz for the second round. It's not a team that just, is coming in, just having some fun and throwing the games. So even if Utah wins in 5, like, hats off to the Grizzlies. They have played their hearts out, and frankly, deserve to get at least 2 or 3 wins. With how they've been playing, I would have been disappointed, but I would not have been surprised to see if they had pushed it to 7 games. So thankfully it looks like that's not going to happen, but man, like, hats off to Memphis as a team, hats off to John Morant, just hats off to the organization. They've got a special future coming, and it's been awesome watching them play their hearts out. So Chiver said, do you think Mitchell will have a big game on Wednesday? Yeah, I think he's had big games every game he's been back. Maybe he wasn't as efficient as we would have liked to see tonight, but he's had big games, so I expect to see that. Frankly, the player that I want to see have a big game Wednesday night more than anyone is Joe Ingles. He hasn't played that well this series, and being able to see Joe Ingles kind of come into form, have a good game, would really give me a lot more confidence going into the second round, just knowing that Utah is firing on all cylinders and are ready to face whoever they end up playing. So, well, it looks like we've got pretty slow stream tonight, so thank you everyone for tuning in. Please join us Wednesday night after the game, and if you want to keep the conversation going, we can do it down below in the comments. Well, I'll definitely get back to those tomorrow, and so thanks so much for everything. Thanks so much for everyone tuning in. Leave a like if you haven't, and subscribe. We're going to be following the Jazz throughout the playoffs and, throughout the off season. Hopefully the off season ends up being pretty short, but we will, or shorter, after they win the finals. So fingers crossed for that. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Let's go Jazz.